What if the keys to profound, lasting attraction were not hidden in fleeting tricks of seduction, but were instead etched into the ancient pillars of philosophy? We are endlessly told to decipher the cryptic signals of desire, to navigate a complex labyrinth of unspoken wants and needs. The modern world offers a cacophony of advice, most of it shallow, promising quick fixes to the fundamental human question of connection. It tells you to be this, to say that, to project an image meticulously crafted for approval. But this is a fool's errand, an exhausting performance that builds a foundation on sand. We must stop asking, "What does she want to see?" and begin asking a far more powerful question: who must I become? Today, we pull back the curtain not on the supposed mysteries of the female mind, but on the immutable truths of human character. We will explore 3 archetypes of perception that resonate with a depth that transcends modern dating trends, because they are rooted in the very bedrock of what it means to be a pillar of strength, a bastion of order, and a sovereign soul in a chaotic world. This is not about playing a role. It is about an excavation of the self, about understanding the profound magnetism of a man governed not by his passing whims, but by unwavering principle. This is an introduction to the Stoic architecture of attraction, where the ultimate aphrodisiac is not a carefully chosen word, but a well-cultivated soul. Part 1. The archetype of controlled power. The virtuous protector, the common narrative, a flimsy and misleading script fed to generations of men, is that attraction hinges on a simplistic dichotomy: the nice guy versus the bad boy. This framework is not only juvenile, it is fundamentally flawed. The man who is perpetually agreeable, the nice guy, who avoids all friction not from a place of strength, but from a fear of disapproval, projects an aura of impotence. His kindness is not a choice, it is a limitation. He is a harbor with no seawalls, open and vulnerable to every tide, incapable of offering true sanctuary because he cannot withstand a storm himself. He is perceived as weak because his actions are dictated by a need for external validation, not by internal principle. Conversely, the bad boy, the man who courts chaos for its own sake, who mistakes recklessness for strength, is a slave to his own impulses. He is not powerful. He is merely unconstrained, a ship without a rudder, a danger to himself and to any who travel with him. Both are fundamentally weak, for both lack the essential ingredient of true masculine power: self-mastery. The fantasy that resides in the deepest, most primal corner of the human psyche is not for one of these caricatures. It is for the man who embodies both protection and peace, the man who possesses the capacity for immense force, but is governed by an even greater measure of restraint. This is the archetype of the virtuous protector. This is the man who could, if necessary, unleash a tempest, but who chooses, through an act of supreme will, to be the calm within the storm. His gentleness is not a product of inability, but a deliberate and focused application of his strength. It is a gift, and its value is measured by the power it holds in reserve. The operating system of this man is the Stoic dichotomy of control. This is not a mere intellectual curiosity. It is the foundational principle of his entire being. He has relentlessly trained his mind to distinguish between that which is his to command and that which is not. His thoughts, his judgments, his principles, his actions, these are his domain. The opinions of others, the insults of a stranger, the unpredictable turns of fortune, even the feelings of his partner, these are external, and he grants them no authority over his inner state. This practice makes him psychologically incorruptible. His danger is not a physical threat, but the unnerving quality of a man who cannot be provoked, baited, or emotionally manipulated. He is a fortress, and the drawbridge to his soul is operated by reason alone. Consider the historical figure of Cato the Younger, the implacable enemy of Julius Caesar. Cato's power was not in legions or wealth, but in his unshakable will. A Rome rife with corruption, bribery, and shifting allegiances, Cato was an immutable pillar of principle. Caesar could sway senators with gold and promises, but he could not sway Cato. This made Cato the most dangerous man in Rome to Caesar's ambition. He was dangerous not because he would resort to violence, but because he was immune to the psychological weapons that controlled other men: fear, greed, and the desire for status. This is the kind of formidability that inspires deep, instinctual respect. It is the power of a man who has mastered himself and is therefore beholden to no one. This quality cannot be feigned. You cannot act like a man of controlled power. It must be cultivated, forged in the fires of self-discipline. This cultivation is a lifelong pursuit, composed of daily practices. First is the practice of physical competence. This is not about vanity, it is about capability. The Stoic trains his body to be a reliable and resilient servant to his mind. This means engaging in difficult physical activity, not just lifting weights, but activities that build endurance, and mental toughness, like long-distance running, martial arts, or mountaineering. When a man pushes his body to its limits, he learns that his perceived limitations are often illusions. He builds confidence not in his appearance, but in his ability to endure and perform under pressure. This physical resilience translates directly into psychological resilience. Second is the practice of emotional fortitude, built primarily through premeditatio malorum, the negative visualization of the Stoics. Each morning, you are to sit in quiet contemplation and consider the challenges the day may bring. Conflict at work, a personal slight, a moment of failure. You visualize the event in detail, and then you visualize your ideal response: calm, rational, and virtuous. By meditating on these possibilities in advance, you strip them of their power to shock and dismay you. You have already visited that territory in your mind and have planned your virtuous response. When the moment arrives, you are not reacting with raw, unpredictable emotion. You are executing a well-rehearsed strategy rooted in principle. This is the training that builds the unshakable calm, the composure that is so profoundly magnetic because it is so rare. Let us paint a more vivid picture. Imagine you are at dinner with your partner. At a nearby table, a man is being obnoxiously rude to the waitstaff. The nice guy would shrink, paralyzed by a fear of confrontation. He might whisper to his partner, "That's terrible," but would do nothing, communicating his impotence. The bad boy might escalate, seeking a validation of his ego through performative aggression. He might shout, "Hey buddy, show some respect," turning the situation into a spectacle about him. The virtuous protector does neither. He observes. He assesses. He sees the flash of distress in his partner's eyes, the discomfort in the room. His response, if one is required, is not emotional. It is tactical. He waits for a precise moment. He does not seek to shame the man, but to end the disturbance. He might rise and walk not to the man's table, but to intercept the waiter near the kitchen. He would quietly say, "I'll take care of that table's bill. Please add it to mine, and do not return to them." He has solved the problem without confrontation. But if the behavior escalates and becomes a direct disturbance to his partner, his approach changes. He will rise. He will not walk over with a puffed-out chest, but with a straight spine, his movements deliberate and calm. His voice will be low, calm, and devoid of anger. yet it will command the entire space. He will say something like, "Friend, you seem to be having a difficult evening, but your issue is with your own affairs, not with the staff here or the other patrons. It's time to settle your bill and depart." There is no threat, only a statement of fact and a clear, firm boundary. The man's power is not in the imagined violence he could inflict, but in the absolute certainty of his frame. He is not asking, he is informing. He is handling the business of the moment with wisdom, not warfare. In that instant, his partner does not see a brute. She sees a man who can command reality with his will, who protects the peace, who restores order not through chaos, but through a strength so profound it has no need to shout. She witnesses a man who has conquered himself, and therefore can face the world. She feels an overwhelming sense of security, not in his fists, but in his character. His gentleness toward her, in contrast to the immense control he just displayed, becomes infinitely more precious. It's a peace he has fought to create, both in the world and within himself, and he is choosing to share it with her. Part 2. The Archetype of Just Leadership. The giver of tranquility. We must now venture into deeper, more misunderstood waters. The modern lexicon, with its clumsy and often politically charged terminology, speaks of domination and submission, words that immediately conjure images of tyranny and subjugation. The profound desire that is so often misinterpreted through this coarse lens is not a desire to be controlled, but a desire to be unburdened. It is a fantasy of release, a yearning for the gift of tranquility in a world that relentlessly demands our attention and energy. It is the fantasy of being with a man whose leadership is so just, so competent, and so rooted in a devotion to shared well-being that one can safely lay down the heavy armor of constant vigilance. This is the archetype of the just leader. To understand this, we must first appreciate the crushing cognitive load of modern life. The average person, and perhaps especially the modern woman, is the CEO of a complex, multifaceted enterprise, her own existence. She manages her career, her social obligations, her family dynamics, her physical and mental health, her financial planning, and the 1,000 other logistical details that constitute a life. Each day is a torrent of decisions, a constant exercise in calculation and response. This relentless demand creates a state of low-grade, persistent anxiety. The mind is never truly at rest. The fantasy, then, is not to be stripped of her agency. It is to be granted a reprieve from the tyranny of trivialities. It is to be with a partner who willingly and competently assumes the mantle of leadership in designated aspects of their shared life. This is not an assertion of superiority. It is an expression of duty, or kathekon in Stoic terms. The just leader sees the ordering of their shared world not as a means to exert power over his partner, but as his fundamental responsibility to her and to the union they are building. He brings order to the chaos. He makes the decisions that need to be made, not because he believes she is incapable, but because he wishes to give her the gift of a quiet mind. This brand of leadership is only desirable when it is predicated on two unwavering principles. First, it must be rooted in absolute competence. A man who seeks to lead without the requisite wisdom and skill is not a leader. He is a tyrant and a fool. His attempts to take charge will only create more chaos and anxiety, forcing his partner to manage not only her own life, but also the fallout from his poor decision. The true just leader has done the work. His decisions are not based on whim or ego, but on logos, on reason, and a clear-eyed assessment of reality. Second, and most critically, his leadership must be entirely benevolent. His ultimate aim must be the flourishing of his partner and their union. The worship described in the shallow versions of this fantasy is a misunderstanding of the Stoic concept of oikoiosis, the recognition of another as a part of your own self. He tends to her well-being not as a form of payment or transaction, but because her well-being is his well-being. He protects and nurtures her happiness as he would his own hand or eye. The cultivation of this archetype requires a profound shift in mindset, from viewing a relationship as a 50-50 split of all tasks to a strategic allocation of duties based on strength and the shared goal of a tranquil household. The practical application is threefold. First is the mastery of a domain. The just leader deliberately develops expertise in areas that reduce the couple's collective anxiety. The most critical of these is finances. He doesn't just help with the bills. He creates and maintains the entire financial architecture of their life. The budget, the investment strategy, the retirement plan, the insurance policies. He understands these systems so thoroughly that she does not have to. He provides her with clear, simple updates, but he carries the cognitive load of the system's complexity. He does the same with other domains: long-term planning, home maintenance, or navigating bureaucratic complexities. Second is the practice of decisive action. In moments of uncertainty, he does not dither. He does not ask endless, anxiety-provoking questions like, "I don't know. What do you think we should do?" This question is often a cowardly abdication of responsibility. Instead, he gathers information, analyzes it rationally, makes a decision, and takes ownership of it. If the decision is wrong, he takes ownership of the failure and adapts without blame. This decisiveness is a balm to an anxious mind. It creates momentum and forward progress, which is the enemy of stagnant worry. Let us construct a more detailed scenario. A couple faces an unexpected and severe financial crisis, a sudden job loss. The incompetent man panics. He externalizes. Blame, becomes irritable and withdraws, leaving his partner to bear the emotional weight and the logistical nightmare of the situation alone. He might say, "What are we going to do?" placing the burden of the solution equally on her already stressed shoulders. The just leader acts differently. He absorbs the initial shock himself. Before he even speaks to his partner, he spends an hour in quiet contemplation, using the Stoic practice of the view from above to put the problem in perspective. He sees it not as a life-ending catastrophe, but as a temporary, challenging chapter in their shared story. Then he begins to architect a plan. When he is ready, he calls a meeting of the council. He sits with his partner and lays out the facts dispassionately, without fear or drama. "Here is the situation," he begins. "I have lost my source of income. This is a serious challenge, but it is one we will overcome. Here is my plan." He then presents a clear, rational, step-by-step strategy. He has already updated his resume. He has mapped out a disciplined job search schedule. He has analyzed their finances and created a temporary austerity budget, identifying every non-essential expense to cut. He has researched temporary work to bridge the gap. He assigns roles not based on dominance, but on strength. "I will handle the job search," he might say. "This will be my full-time job. I need you to be strong here, with me. I need you to manage the household with this new budget. I will take care of the rest." He takes the abstract terror of the unknown and transforms it into a concrete set of manageable tasks. He absorbs the fear and radiates purpose. He doesn't say, "Don't worry," a useless platitude. His actions, his plan, his composure are the reason she doesn't have to worry. He has taken the mental load of the crisis onto his own shoulders, liberating her to manage her own emotional response without also having to be the strategic commander of their recovery. She is not being dominated. She is being shielded. She is witnessing a man create order out of chaos in real time for her benefit. This act of competent, benevolent leadership allows her to feel so profoundly safe that she can cede control of the situation to him, not as an act of submission, but as an act of supreme trust in his character and capability. Part 3. The archetype of the sovereign, soul, the man who chooses freely. We arrive now at the most profound and philosophically resonant of these archetypes, the one that cuts to the very core of Stoic ethics and the nature of true freedom. It is the fantasy that dissolves the pervasive fear of being a necessity, a crutch, or a solution to someone else's brokenness. It is the deep, unspoken desire to be chosen not out of need, but out of pure, unadulterated preference. It is the fantasy of being loved by a man who needs nothing, and therefore whose love is the most valuable gift of all. This is the archetype of the sovereign soul, a man who is needy, who looks to a woman to complete him, to validate his existence, to be the source of his happiness, is not offering love. He is demanding therapy. He approaches her with a beggar's bowl, and every gesture of affection he gives is tainted by the silent expectation of a return. His "I love you" is not a statement of fact, but a question. Do you love me? His presence creates an immense psychological burden. She becomes responsible not only for her own emotional equilibrium, but for his as well. This is not a partnership. It is a hostage situation. His happiness is chained to her, and the weight of that chain will eventually suffocate any genuine affection. A woman can sense this desperation from a mile away. It is a scent of psychic poverty, and it is universally repulsive. The sovereign soul, the man who embodies the Stoic ideal, is the polar opposite. His life is a structure built on the bedrock of his own virtue. He has cultivated what the Stoics called eudaimonia, a state of flourishing that is entirely internal, dependent only on his own rational choices and moral character. His career is not his identity, but a theater in which he practices excellence. His finances are not a source of validation, but a tool for freedom and agency. He has friendships that are deep and nourishing, hobbies that ignite his passion, and a mind that is a rich and fascinating place to inhabit. He has faced his own loneliness and made peace with it. He has looked into the abyss of his own solitude and found not terror, but contentment. He could live the rest of his life alone and be perfectly, genuinely whole. He has become a man who is complete in himself. And it is from this place of absolute self-sufficiency that he turns to a woman and chooses her. This choice is an event of seismic significance. It is not the act of a man filling a void in his life. It is the act of a master artist deciding to add a breathtaking new color to an already magnificent canvas. She is not a piece of a puzzle. She is a complementary masterpiece to be hung alongside his own. His desire for her is not born of lack, but of abundance. He is so full of life, of joy, of inner peace, that it naturally overflows, and he wishes to share this abundance with a worthy partner. This is the ultimate expression of the Stoic idea of a preferred indifferent. A relationship is not necessary for his happiness, but it is a state he chooses because it adds beauty and value to an already complete existence. This dynamic transforms every interaction. When he listens to her, it is not the dutiful performance of a good boyfriend role. It is the genuine curiosity of one rational mind engaging with another. When he offers a gift, it is not an obligation or an investment in future affection. It is a spontaneous expression of his appreciation for her existence. His affection is not a transaction. It is a testament. Because he does not need her, she is free to be completely herself. She does not have to perform, to manage his ego, or to walk on eggshells to maintain his fragile sense of self-worth. She is chosen for who she is, not for the function she serves. This is the highest form of validation. It is the feeling of being seen, not for your utility, but for your intrinsic worth. She is selected, not settled for. To build this life of sovereignty is the great work of any man aspiring to the Stoic ideal. It requires turning your gaze inward. It requires the daily practice of journaling, not as a diary of events, but as a philosophical ledger. In it, you define your own values: justice, courage, temperance, wisdom. You review your actions of the previous day against those values. This is not for self-flagellation, but for calibration. It strengthens your inner citadel, making you less dependent on external feedback. It also requires building a life of purpose, a mission that is your own, separate from any relationship. This could be mastering a craft, building a business, dedicating yourself to a cause, or pursuing a line of intellectual inquiry. That purpose is the sun around which your life orbits. It is your primary source of energy and validation. A partner, then, is not the sun, but a cherished fellow planet, warmed by the same star, traveling on her own beautiful orbit alongside yours. Let's contrast two final scenarios. In the first, a needy man gets a significant promotion at work. His immediate compulsive reaction is to call his girlfriend. He is agitated until he can reach her. When he does, he blurts out, "Guess what? I got the promotion." He is listening intently, not to her words, but for the precise level of excitement in her voice. Her ecstatic approval is what makes the achievement feel real. Her joy is the final ingredient he needs to feel his own. He has outsourced his sense of accomplishment. Now consider the sovereign soul. He receives news of the same promotion. His first reaction is internal. He feels a quiet, profound satisfaction, the logical result of his sustained, focused effort. He takes a moment to himself to appreciate the milestone. Later that evening, when he is with his partner, he shares the news with a calm, genuine joy. He might say, "Some good news today. I got that promotion we talked about. I'm really pleased. We should go somewhere special this weekend to celebrate our journey." The focus shifts from "validate me" to "let us share in this mutual good fortune." He is not asking for her emotional labor. He is inviting her to participate in his abundance. His joy is his own. The celebration is theirs. This is the ultimate freedom he offers. The freedom from responsibility for his soul. When you become that man, you cease to chase and begin to attract. Your completeness becomes a beacon. You are offering not a half-life, in search of its other half, but a whole and vibrant world to which you are inviting a fellow sovereign to coexist. The core of this is understanding that true strength isn't about being untouchable, but about being so deeply rooted in your own worth that you can afford to be vulnerable, to connect, to love freely and without condition. It is the paradox of Stoicism. By needing nothing, you become free to truly want, and to be wanted in return. If this exploration of character has resonated with you, and you wish to continue the great work of building a life of virtue, consider subscribing and joining us on this journey. The path to becoming such a man is the noblest endeavor one can undertake, a path that benefits the self first. and all your relationships as a natural, beautiful consequence.